Hi guys, thanks for tuning in and welcome to UCOM. On these collection of videos I will be talking about one of the most interesting things I discovered of late, which is cartoon conspiracy theories. I'm going to start with one of the finest television production companies for nearly 40 years, Nickelodeon. Hey on all, the Rugrats, Dogs, SpongeBob SquarePants, the company has produced some of the best kid shows of all time. However, I have recently seen some reviews online regarding certain cartoon conspiracy theories which I found fascinating, surrounding a number of cartoons from Nickelodeon. Some of them may have some truth in them, some of them could be completely and utter nonsense. However, I decided I'm going to examine them, and in my opinion, are probably the 5 most interesting ones, I give my verdict on them. Now I just want to throw out there, they are not my theories, I did not come up with any of them. You can find them all over online, I'm sure they're all over YouTube as well. I'm just going to look at the theory and see why people would think it's true or not. The second show I'm going to do from Nickelodeon is The Rugrats. Without doubt, my favourite show growing up as a kid was Rugrats. I can't remember a time when there wasn't The Rugrats. The characters, the animation, who would think a show about babies could be so good? But Nickelodeon smashed it, they really did. And you can perfectly understand why it lasted so long, from 1991 right up to 2004. The theory surrounding Rugrats, although interesting, is also very dark. It begins with Angelica Pickles, whose mother Charlotte Pickles is not actually her mother at all, but married her father Drew in order to gain wealth, which explains why she shows so little interest in Angelica. In addition, the theory goes on to say that Angelica's mother was an alcoholic and a heroin addict, who eventually died after succumbing from drug abuse not long after Angelica was born. As Angelica is a child, she does not understand implications of her late mother's behaviour and still idolises her very much, even to the point of altering Cynthia, her doll, to look like her mother, such as the messed up hair and the ragged dress as a way of representing her mother. The theory goes on to say that as a result of the lack of attention that Angelica receives from her workaholic parents, that she is crazy and may even be suffering from schizophrenia. The theory goes on to say again that the babies that Angelica thinks are her family and friends are all children that died a long time ago, and that some of them actually never existed at all and are figments of her imagination. Her cousin Tommy Pickles was a stillborn baby. Her uncle Stu Pickles then fell into a deep depression, which led him to spend all his time in his basement making toys for the son he waited so passionately for but never had the chance to meet, as a way of coping with the grief he was feeling. It is even highlighted by Drew Pickles, his brother and Angelica's father, in the Rugrats movie, that while Stu is designing the reptile wagon, he still has various financial problems and is struggling to meet ends meet as it is, as he has no insurance and no savings, which could hit him hard prior to the birth of his son Dill. Chucky Finster died in a car accident with his mother Melinda Finster, which is the reasoning behind her death, which is why Chaz is always nervous and suffers from bad anxiety. However, Chucky would have been the only character that Angelica would have seen when he was alive. Chaz is, however, one of the few characters in the story to have a happy ending. When he goes on a holiday trip to Paris, he meets his second wife Kira, where they learn about each other's lives, such as Kira's daughter Kimmy, who is taken away from her because of her drug addiction. Angelica learns this new information when Chaz returns with his new wife. This is how Kimmy then becomes part of her group of friends. The DeVilles had an abortion, and as a result, Angelica never learned the sex of the baby for that reason, creating the twins of a boy and a girl, Phil and Lil. Susie Carmichael, the Pickles' neighbour, who lives across the road, is actually a real character. And although she is still a child herself, she does actually play along with Angelica's imaginary friends, as she is unaware that Angelica is suffering from any kind of mental illness. Another character who is real is Dill Pickles, Tommy Pickles' younger brother. However, because of Angelica's mental illness, she is unable to distinguish which of her friends and family are real and which ones are not. As a result, there is an incident one day when Angelica gets angry and screams up the babies to leave, and Dill is the only baby to remain, as he is a real-life newborn and is not part of Angelica's world, so therefore he does not follow her commands like all the other babies do. And as a result, she ends up pushing him over in a violent rage. With such force, he falls on his head, which causes him permanent brain damage and leading him to have severe mental disabilities, which is confirmed in the spin-off show All Grown Up. When Angelica turns 13, she is old enough to understand the consequences of her actions or what she did to her cousin when he was just a newborn baby. And as a way to cope with the guilt of what she feels, she turns to drugs. During the abuse, her friends appear again, like herself, all grown up, which causes her to fuel her addiction so they don't leave her again. And as a result, she overdoses and dies just like her mother did. The theory also seems to hint that the parents themselves are also suffering from mental illnesses due to the loss of their young children, and imagine the babies to be real, such as Stu spending all his time making toys for Tommy. Now, although this is probably the most interesting theory from a Nickelodeon show, I generally don't believe it is true. We already have horror films with a twist to them, such as M. Night Shyamalan movies like The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. It is incredibly dark, but it can be supported with evidence, I guess, such as that imagination that the babies have, in addition to episodes where things happen that don't happen at all, such as the episode Outside Space, where the babies go into space. So I don't think it's true. It's too dark, and it could also be considered quite insensitive to people who may experience this actual thing in real life. However, I think it's a story which could work really well as a psychological horror film, so I by no means think that it's a stupid theory, and could actually work really well as a screenplay. So for that reason, I'm going to give this theory a 3 out of 10. Thanks for tuning in to UConn. We're doing another video about Doug from this Nickelodeon piece, but for now, that's all, and thanks for tuning in to UConn.